Hello everyone, welcome to Mascot Gardening. I'm starting a new channel and I want to document my experiments with growing tomatoes on my balcony. I like to call it the Grand Tomato Experiment. There's a few reasons why. Now, first of all, I live in Krakow in Poland and summers here are pretty much 3 months long, a lot of cloud cover, and the temperatures are pretty mild. Now, to top that off, my balcony is north facing, so that means I get a few hours of sunlight in the morning, a few hours of sunlight in the evening, but not a lot of direct sunlight, which from what I've seen online is pretty much a prerequisite for growing any type of vegetables, right? So I'm kind of trying to get away with this to see if the morning light and the evening light is going to be sufficient for it. Now, on top of all of this, actually, I've started sowing my seeds on April 22nd, and that's a bit late in the game. Normally you want to start in March, you want to transplant out in May, so that means by all accounts I think we're behind maybe 5 to 6 weeks, right? So we have location, we have lack of sunlight, we're pretty late to the game with all of this, right? Now, I did take a few steps to mitigate all of this to see if there's any opportunity or possibility that we're still going to be able to harvest quite a lot of tomatoes, even with all these limitations. One of them is the fact that I focused quite a lot on bushy type of plants, right? So the tomatoes that you can plant in containers that are suitable for patios or for balconies like mine. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel, so we're going to grow a lot of cherry tomatoes, even though they're not necessarily my favorite. The slicers are my favorite, but you know, I'm gonna live with the cherries if that's the best we can do. Another thing is that my balcony is quite small, so that means I only have 4 big pots where I'm gonna be planting tomatoes. I'm gonna be stacking them, I'm gonna stagger them. I'm gonna probably talk into a later video about all of this, but what I am trying to do is basically plant different varieties of tomatoes so that when they start producing tomatoes and we start harvesting, is that we get a constant supply of tomatoes from, let's say, end of July to middle of September, right? So you can accomplish this by planting types of tomatoes that will start producing tomatoes in, let's say, 55 days. Some of tomatoes go all the way up to 80s, right? So there's different varieties of tomatoes. We're going to talk about the ones that we're using. There's tomatoes that have been bred for colder climates, so that means they have a shorter time to produce because summers are not that long, so people just need or they only get 2 months to start producing everything for the summer. So we have focused on small varieties of tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, bushy types, determinates. We have a few indeterminates. Some of them are supposed to start giving us tomatoes quite soon, meaning in a few months. Some of them are going to drag us maybe all the way to the end of September. So with our 4 pots, we're actually planting a lot more than we should. This is another thing that we want to experiment, but as with any experiments, right, it's an opportunity to learn, opportunity to have fun. We're going to learn a lot of things of what to do to grow tomatoes, and I think most importantly, what not to do when growing tomatoes. And I've always wanted to say this, let's do a tour of the garden. Oh, and if you notice me actually moving my eyes to the side of the camera is because of 2 things. One of them is called Luna, the other one is called Patrick. You'll get a chance to meet both of them in a short while. Okay, so let's start the tour with the pots for tomatoes. This is from a local producer, actually, Prosper Plast. And these pots are really interesting because they have a fake bottom. So you can see here that there's a place where you can pour water. There's quite a lot of water there, and what happens is that the water will get sucked in through the soil to feed the tomatoes. There's still the need to actually put quite a lot of water into the tomatoes, especially when they're at this stage. So we're probably going to try both and see how it goes. We have a sensor as well, so we're going to measure if the soil is suited, it's wet enough or it's dry enough for what we want. We have some herbs here. They're not doing amazing. Some parsley and some garlic, wild garlic, and we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it kind of improves. I've put quite a lot of seeds. Some of them are sprouting, some of them are not, but we'll see. We'll monitor it. And here we have quite a lot of tomatoes. We're going to talk about them in a second. A lot of them we're going to get transplanted today. But first of all, let's finish with where we're going to put them and how. Okay, this is the second place where we're going to plant tomatoes. It's a growing bag. As you see, we had to fold it a bit to maybe half its size. Overall, I think it's a 98-liter growing bag. We don't need that as much, especially on a balcony. What we have inside is 2 uyas in each. So we have 2 of these growing bags. This one is actually topped off with a lot of the tomatoes we're going to transplant today. If you don't know what a uya is, it's a ceramic bowl that you put inside. This one is around 1 liter, if I'm not mistaken. They come in all shapes and sizes. So once you put it inside, you fill it up with water. And because this is not properly cooked, let's say, the clay, it's going to be able to transpire. So that means it's going to release the water slowly. So once you start planting whatever you want to plant around it, the roots are going to start attaching themselves surrounding the uyas. So that means it's a type of passive irrigation. If you're not the kind of person that wants to work every day and try to figure out if the soil is good, if it's wet or not, or especially when in the balcony that you don't have the advantage of rainwater. This is actually a good way of utilizing the passive irrigation system. From my experience, I have played with this and I have tested it. I think it takes around maybe 3 days for the uya to release all the water. And as you can see, the soil is actually wet inside, or let's say less dry than on above. What we have in the soil. So with the soil, we did a few things. I think we've put 1/3 of compost, 1/3 of potting soil mix, and then 1/3 of the lights. So vermiculite, perlite, and agrolite. You'll find them under the name of lights. We've used a mix of those. You see this is a clay ball. So this is supposed to help with water retention, and also it's going to help with roots being able to find their way around the soil. Sometimes when you water too much, and this growing bag actually doesn't have a bottom, so that means if I put too much water, at some point it's going to stick at the bottom of it. The soil is going to compact, right? So it's going to get too hard for the roots to be able to penetrate it. So some of these clay balls are actually able to help with that problem. Not only they're able to retain a lot of water, but they're also going to be able to help the roots find their way to the bottom. Here's one of the members of our crew. Okay, moving on. We'll talk about the tomatoes in a second. We have some baby tomatoes here as well. These are petunias, actually. And now let's take a look at what we have here. Strawberries. We're going to put this in a different basket, and we're going to hang them from the ceiling. I'll show you in a second where. We have a lot of lettuce, actually quite a lot. And I don't know if you can tell, but all of this are the same, and they're actually stackable. So it's more of a vertical type of pot. Normally you'd want it if you're able to rotate it all the time. I don't plan on adding more pots here, so I decided to just split them up. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll stack them up as we get closer to summer. We'll see, right? We have different types of lettuce here. One of them, I think this is a mix of different types of lettuces. This is just your normal rocket lettuce. Another strawberry right here. We have more lettuce, more strawberries, and I have some red lettuce as well somewhere. I just don't see it right now. This is a full-grown tomato that we got from the florist. It already actually has quite a lot of cherry tomatoes, a lot of flowers. So this is probably going to be the first tomato that we're going to be able to harvest. More lettuce, more lettuce. We're going to have a lot of lettuce this summer. This is a mini kiwi. I don't plan on planting it. I got it for free when I ordered all of the tomatoes. So I'll figure out what I can do with it. I'll probably just gift it to somebody. And then right here we have the herb garden. Carnations. We want to have flowers at the bottom because we will need some insects to help pollinate the tomatoes. We have space to actually add a few more carnations. They come and go. This one kind of looks dead, but I can assure it's not. It's actually doing amazing. We have a strawberry right here, and the strawberry is coming up. We got this from the shop. We didn't grow the strawberries from seeds. A mint. This mint is kind of struggling. I'm not exactly sure why. Baby leaf basil, and then we have a beautiful mint that is doing amazing. So this is going to be the foundation for the Mojito Summer. And on top we have the strawberry field. A lot of this comes from the shop. We have a few from friends. There's a lot of flowers, as you can see. Look at that. I think the last time I counted, it's probably around close to 50. A lot of them underneath. It's still gonna take some time for them to come up. Maybe August is gonna be a good estimate of when this is gonna start shooting. And all of the strawberries that we have in the smaller pots, the plan is that we're gonna hang them on top. So eventually when it starts growing, it's gonna be a wall of strawberries all the way to the bottom, because what we have are hanging strawberries. Okay, and on this side we have the winter garden, meaning a lot of these plants live indoors actually, and they have been with me for the past, I want to say 7 to 8 years. Some yuccas. 3 years ago I've added some moss, some rocks as decorations, and they have been doing remarkably well. I don't water them that often, maybe once every 2 weeks, and they're still here. They got used to this schedule and they're doing amazing. This is a raspberry. I'm still undecided if I'm gonna keep it or put it in the park. I don't think it's necessarily the best plant you want to have in the balcony. We have some lavender. That's so far so good. It's doing great, and I think it's still gonna do great. And this is one of the pollinators that we have, mainly for bees and whatever kind of insects we're gonna have in the balcony this summer. And then these flowers right here, we added some more from seeds directly. This is something we got from the florist, so we'll see how that kind of turns out to be. And on top we've got some petunias we just hanged. We have some baby petunias we're going to be able to transplant at some point, and all of this, they're basically just on either side of the couch. This is how it looks. Thank you all for watching. I hope you tag along for the next videos. Before we drop off, I just want to explain to everybody why we're called Mascot. When we started growing all of our seeds, we had a huge platter, maybe 100 trays full of various types of tomatoes. The first one to germinate, the first one to pop its head out, the first one that got everybody excited was the Mascot. Mascot is a small bushy type, determinate type of tomato. It's a Polish variety. It's actually pronounced Mascotka. I'm excited to see how it tastes. I'm excited to see how it grows, and because we kept talking on and on for a week about mascots being the first in the race, we just decided to go along with Mascot Gardening.